Before we get into this, I want to tell you what a tax collector is and what a Gentile is. In the gospel, Jesus says if you're having a hard time working stuff out with somebody and it finally just doesn't work, they should be to you like a tax collector and a Gentile. Well, what in the world does that mean? It's really very simple. A tax collector is somebody you don't like. That's just a placeholder. It's just a placeholder. It's a big sacred symbol word. It's an archetype. So when you hear tax collector, just put in the place of tax collector whoever it is you don't like. Now, y'all are good Christian folks. You probably don't even have anybody in that spot. But that's what was meant by tax collector. Gentiles are people who are not like us. So tax collectors are people who we don't like, and Gentiles are people who are not like us. You with me? All right. Put that on the shelf. We'll come back to it. Jesus is trying to teach us to let people be. I'm not very good at it. I'm actually kind of bad at it. But I'm trying to learn the lesson. I'm trying to learn to let people be. Because the truth is, everybody I know and the vast sea of people on this planet Earth that I'll never meet have a right to be. They have a right to be exactly who and what they are without any interference from me. Darn it. You know, I go out in the world sometimes. Y'all ever go out in the world? I run into some people who are pretty mad. I mean, there's some mad people out there. And I don't much like this. But folk who are mad have a right to be mad. Sometimes I run into mean people. You ever run into mean people? They scare me, mean people do. And I don't much like it, but mean people get to be mean. Careless people get to be careless. You ever run into overly optimistic, Pollyanna, rose-colored glasses, prisoner of hope folks like me out in the world? We get to be the way we are too, as frustrating as we are to all the pragmatists. Folks who are greedy, lazy, silly, superficial, they all get to be those things and more. Doesn't that just burn you up? I'm trying to learn to let people be. Do you have anyone in your life, rhetorical question, do not answer this and do not point to your neighbor. Do you have anyone in your life who is not what you want them to be? I got bad news for you. They get to be that way. I'm trying to learn to let people be. When I was a little boy, what I wanted most in the world was to go wherever my daddy was going. It didn't matter where he was going, just let me go with him. When I was a little boy, my father drove a baby blue 1962 Chevrolet pickup, step side, straight 6, 3 on the tree, if that means anything to you. My little brother and I would load up and go with him in that truck anywhere, anytime. It had a big bench seat in it, big seat. It's like a twin bed, that bench seat was, and we'd line up 3 across, all smiles in that old truck. My father was a priest. So he was most often headed down to the church. When we went with him, that's where we usually went. Late one Friday night, my dad got a call at our house, middle of the night, from the police who told him that someone had broken into our parish church right down the street. Now, we were already asleep, my little brother and I, so he didn't wake us and take us with him in the middle of the night to check it out. But the next morning, Dad woke us up early and he said, "Boys, I've got to go down to the church to fix a broken window. Do you want to go with me?" We were dressed and in the truck before he finished the question. Because when I was a little boy, what I wanted most in the world was to go wherever my daddy was going. So we got to the church, and the broken window was in the long Sunday school hallway of the downstairs of the church house there. And there was glass all over the floor. And the police had taped a big piece of cardboard over the window that was broken from the outside. And we walked up to the scene, and my father went past it down to a closet down the hall to get a broom. And my little brother Todd and I stopped, and we examined the scene, our imaginations firing wildly over what in the world had happened here. And as I looked at all the shattered glass and the hole in the big window, some little specks of color caught my eye, splattered on the wall. I looked down, and there were a few more specks of color splattered on the floor. I bent over to have a better look. And I felt a sudden surge of anxiety run through my little boy body. It's blood, I thought to myself. It's blood. And that scared me. I was a little boy, and the sight of blood in my church scared me, and suddenly I could feel it constricting. I was swallowed up in fear, and my little boy head just ran with thoughts like electricity running through a line. Who did this, and why do they want to hurt us, and are they going to come back? Where are they now? And where is my dad? And I turned to run and find my father, and I ran right into him because he was back with the broom. And I thought I was a little bit too big for this, so I didn't do it. But what I wanted to do is what little boys and girls sometimes do, which is just wrap my arms around his leg. I stood straight up because I was a big boy, or trying to be. And I said, Dad, there's blood. What happened here? Is someone mad at us? I was scared. Who did this, Dad? And my father could see the fear painted all over my face. He put his hand gently on my head. He said, nobody. It's okay. No one wants to hurt us. It's okay. I said, who was it, Dad? He said, well, it was a young man. He said, and I came down here last night while you and your brother were asleep, and I talked to him, talked to the police. And he's not mad at us, this young man. He said he's upset with God. I said he's mad at God. He said he's mad at God. And he said, so son, he came to the church. Because where else would you go if you're mad at God? And his anger got the best of him in the middle of the night, and he put his fist through this window. He broke this window out of his anger, and he cut himself when he did it, but he's okay. Huh? And he's not mad at us. And he's not going to hurt us. So when I was a little boy, if my dad said it was okay, it was okay. So it was okay. And I took a deep breath, and the fear loosened its grip. Do you know what I'm talking about? What do we do? I said to my dad. What'll happen to him? And then I asked the question that every little kid asks when there's something broken. Is he in trouble? I said. And my dad said gently, no, he's not in trouble. He's not in trouble. We'll clean up this mess, and what do? He said. Well, buddy, we just love him. Then he said it again. I'm glad he came to the church, because if you're mad at God, what better place to go than come down here and work it out? We can fix this window. Then he said, son, you know, a lot of people in this world are upset. There's a lot of upset people in this world, he said. And for a lot of them, you can't figure out how to help them not be upset. So we just let them be. That's what my dad said. We just let them be. And we love them anyway. Whew. That's my father. Jesus said, when you have trouble with somebody, listen to them. Huh? Ask them to listen to you. And try that many, many times. Then Jesus said, and if you come up short, after trying over and over again and giving it your best, then let them be. Let them be to you like a Gentile or a tax collector. And at first we might read that or see that line, and we might think, well, that means I can finally throw in the towel. I told you we couldn't do anything with them, and we can give up and walk away. But y'all know that's not at all what that means. Because if we look through the gospel for how Jesus treated tax collectors and Gentiles, you know what we find? We find that he let them be. And that when everyone else was moving away from him, Jesus moved towards them. And he didn't read them the riot act or tell them how to behave. He let them be. He went to where they were. You know Matthew? Oh, this is from Matthew's gospel. Y'all know what Matthew did for a living? Y'all, he was a tax collector. He was somebody didn't anybody like. And when Jesus saw him, he walked right up to my man. Let him be just who he was. He said, hey, Matthew, will you come with me? Like, let's take a walk. I'll talk, Jesus said to Matthew, and you can listen. Then you talk, and I'll listen. Y'all, that's how you start a friendship. Jesus let Matthew be. And one of the things they did together, y'all remember this in a gospel story? One of the things they did together was travel to Gentile territory. Like go to a place where there's a heavy concentration of people ain't like us. You know what they did when they got there? They fed them. They fed them with 7 loaves and 7 fish, the feeding of the 4,000. That's all Gentiles. So when Jesus says, treat the one with whom you're struggling like a Gentile and a tax collector, y'all, he's raising the bar. He's saying, quit trying to convince them to see it your way. He's saying, stop arguing with these people. They're worn out by you. He's saying, instead, feed them when they're hungry. Live with them. Go places with them. Do things with them. Listen to them. And if you have to love them from a distance, and some people we do, be active in that too. Pray that they know and feel God's love wrapping them up every day. See, I'm trying to learn to let people be. It's what my dad was trying to teach me. It's what he learned from Jesus. You see, I figure people can learn one of 2 things from me. Maybe you put yourself in this, and I say, I figure people can learn one of 2 things from us. They can learn how self-centered I am and how much I want to be in control. They can learn how hard I'll try to make them over in my own image, fix them. I'm a PhD. Come on, Rebecca, I'm a PhD in that lesson. They can learn that from me. Dare I say they can learn that from us? Or they can learn about God's mercy. Huh? They can learn about God's unconditional love as I let them be. You see, everybody, ain't no exceptions. If you think you're the exception, with respect, you're not. Everybody, the broken and the fixed, has one central longing. We all want to feel the safety, love, and intimacy that a child feels in the presence of a loving parent. And that intimacy comes from God. So when I'm trying to fix you, and when I'm trying to make you over in my image, I am getting in God's way. But when I let you be, in those grace-soaked moments, when I let you be, then I can be used by God. We can be used by God. as delivery vehicles for God's unconditional love. So I'm trying to learn to let people be, so that they will grow to know God's love by the way that I love.